Welcome to 843 TV. I'm your host, Catherine Maedeman, and today we're going to sit down and talk to you about Osprey Village. What is that? Well, we're going to meet with the Director of Operations, who is Julie Kuhns, and also Channing Heiss, who is the Director of Communications. They're going to give us the latest information and what we need to do to help their program. And we'll be right back.
.843 TV, where the Lowcountry comes to speak. .843 TV,
where communities come to speak. And welcome back to 843 TV. I am with Julie Kuhns, who is the Director of Operations at Osprey Village, and I'm delighted to see you again. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, too.
There's a lot to get caught up on. I mean, there's some news and latest activities that are going on at Osprey Village. But first, before our viewers, let's start, what is Osprey Village? Because we do hear you on the radio a lot. I mean, you do great marketing.
Thank you. Thank you. Our Director of Communications, Channing Heiss, is our marketing guru, so kudos to him. Osprey Village was founded 11 years ago as an answer to a significant problem nationwide on how are we going to successfully and stably house persons with developmental disabilities in something they can afford but also promotes their independence. So for 11 years, we've been tackling that problem.
And we find there's a need here in our community.
It is. In fact, the Lowcountry is slightly higher than national average on having persons with developmental disabilities as residents. So it's a significant problem here.
Could you give us a little bit of the demographics? I mean, do we have a sense of how many are we talking about, population?
The newest census is coming out,
okay.
Hopefully soon. Our data is 10 years old already, and we all know that the influx of people moving from the north and combining that with the people that are moving into adulthood out of high school, the number is growing exponentially.
Yeah. So our population are adults with some sort of disability, and they are unlikely able to live on their own.
In varying degrees. We have people who need supported housing, right, in a community that supports them, but can by and large do things very independently. But it's a spectrum, all the way up to people who need 24-hour-a-day care and some heavy medical services as well. So it's a very broad spectrum.
It is a broad spectrum. So what's a day in a life? I mean, so we have those different people needing different services. So tell us about that, because, I mean, we have a little time here. I think people need to understand when people, this population who has the disabilities, you know, they don't want this. They want to be able the best they can be. They can achieve and be as functioning as they possibly are, even at the checkout. You know, we see putting the groceries in the bags and they're doing something in society. That means so much, but we need to help fund them and facilitate that, correct?
Absolutely.
So tell us a day in the life, like what kind of services are we looking for?
Well, first of all, the persons with developmental disabilities are the very definition of making the most with what they have. They're always very motivated to get out into the community and be of help no matter what that is. What we provide at Osprey Village is opportunities to support them to be out into the community. We do it through a respite program that we actually call an independent living skills program, teaching them everything from how to use Uber to how to use their cell phones. These are, great tools for them to have. Many of them are very capable. They've simply not been considered in terms of teaching them. So we have the independent living skills program. We also have a job program, an independent employment service program, getting people into real jobs and competitive wage employment in the community. We also provide some services in terms of group work for those who couldn't work independently, say at a grocery store or an office. They are given an opportunity to work in groups where they're supported by a person who understands how to work with persons with developmental disabilities.
So there is a broad spectrum. So with Osprey Village, what do you need? What services are you looking for?
Services are we looking for to start providing or from the community? What are you meaning?
So you're asking for two things. We need some place where they can go work. We need a workplace, and also we need funding to fund staff.
Correct.
Because sometimes they need to have constant monitoring. Correct. They need an educator with them or a monitor.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, what do we want to do with Osprey Village? We've had challenging times right now.
Yeah.
we cannot get together like you used to. It used to be very, community related, had all kinds of fun programs that you're going on. But with our latest situation, the distancing, what are you doing now?
Well, we had to get creative just like everybody else. And one of our biggest challenges over 2020 was how do we keep connection with persons with developmental disabilities, because they are very vulnerable to viruses. Their immune systems, by and large, are potentially more weakened. We started providing remote services via Zoom. We thought it potentially would be catastrophic. This is a very difficult population to engage when you're in a remote base. What we found out is it's actually very successful. Our staff have been very, very good at creating remote programming to engage groups of individuals. We do it about twice a week that way. And then we're also providing one-to-one service in the community as well.
Isn't that interesting? Well, congratulations, because I think all the educators are having that problem.
Absolutely.
How are we going to bridge that gap with the educators and the students? Well, I'm glad to hear that. So we are still meeting the needs with the kids, but we are missing that one-on-one connection.
We are. We're missing the human element very, very much, because we are so limited in capacity on where we can take them, what we can do with them. I mean, we're in a situation where if you have a cold or a sniffle, or one of your kids does, that takes you down, right? That takes a staff person down, and that'll leave us limited on where we can provide. One of our biggest challenges is that telehealth for our community and our population is not funded through Medicaid waivered programs like our boots on the ground services are. So it's very, very challenging to keep funding available to pay our staff for doing this work.
Well, that's an interesting twist. I mean, that's a big twist here. So the government has to think about adding to the service list of things that they can fund. I mean, that's a new line item to look at.
It definitely is. It's probably something that would take some time. I mean, anything with the government tends to take time, but in particular, looking at how do you set up policy for that? How do you fund that? And what services for the developmentally disabled are appropriate to do remotely as a telehealth service as opposed to a boots on the ground?
That's very interesting. I wish I had an answer for that one.
Me too.
But you know what? We're going to be right back with more with Julie, because this is a great topic, and this is WHHI-TV. We'll be right back.